All right, those wishing to address the public, Mr. Bloom, please take your,
Yes.
take your position at the podium.
Yes, Jerry Bloom, 24 Fairfield Avenue, right up the road. I guess we're going to skip the roll call again. Okay, quick question, or a couple of quick questions. How do I obtain a copy of the job description for an alderman? I mean, what do you all do besides show up here once a month? Okay. I see you have funding for a war on terror monument. I'd be interested to see what that looks like prior to funding being allocated. Also, the selection of the official flag of Shelton. Do you have a draft of what that might look like? Would you care to present that to the public for comment prior to adopting? Okay. I see that the lamps on the library down here at Plum Library are still in a state of disrepair, as well as the road down at Riverside Park, which I was told last year that that would be addressed soon. But as we all know, nothing gets done without a deadline. Would anyone care to make a deadline today? No, didn't think so. Although you did find enough resources to pave the dog park, which was considerably smaller. Okay, the police department's parking lot has a couple of signs that say police vehicles only. However, the frauditors will find a way around that, and they have. They go into these parking lots and stick the cameras all over the place, and when they are confronted, but I'm not a police vehicle, they're either shoot away or arrested. What I suggest is you put a restricted area sign there. And speaking of the frauditors, one of the most notorious of them, Ask Elmo. Okay, what a name. He's on the run. He has a bench warrant for failure to appear in Arizona. He fled the country to get this, Saipan. That's 7,000 miles away. This is the kind of money these criminals make with their YouTube. And I see that we still do not have a executive order protecting the city from them. All right. I'll just hang out and see what you all have to say. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to address the, address the board in the public portion?
Mayor, I just want to respond about the lights.
No, we're not gonna respond right now. We can do it at the, after the meeting, or you can call City Hall during the day and get an answer. All right, we're gonna close the public portion, and I guess we have one item to add onto the agenda.
Add to the agenda is item 8.5. Can you hear me out there? Okay. Add to the agenda is item 8.5, agreement with EBM for IT solutions. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let me borrow your pen from it.
It's 8.5.
Right back to you.
Oh.
No, you're right back to you. All right, now we'll move on to the minutes for approval. We have the board involved in a special meeting of December 14th.
Move to waive the reading and approve the Board of Aldermen special meeting minutes of December 14th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3, Finance Committee, Public Health and Safety Committee, Street Committee, there are no items. I have nothing to report. I'll do that during the course of the agenda. Alderman English, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing to report other than ask Mr. What's his name?
Bloom?
Mr. Bloom, if he would stay through the meeting, and we're going to, when we discuss the monument, you'll get the answer that you sought. Thank you.
Okay, so there are no legislative old, there are no items. Items number 7, financial business old, there are no items. Takes us to item number 8, financial business new. 8.1 is January statutory refunds.
Move that the report of the tax collector relative to the refunds of taxes for a total amount of $8,283.74 be approved. And that the finance director be directed to make payments in accordance with the certified list received from the tax collector with funds to come from the statutory refunds account. So moved.
Second. Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.2 is the fiscal year and transactions 2022, 2023.
Move
Okay,
to-
go ahead, John.
All right.
Go ahead. Yep.
Move to appropriate an amount of $4,509,118 to cover fiscal year 2022-23 over expenditures with funding to come from the general fund surplus. So moved.
Second. Motion is made and seconded. Discussion, and I want to give some explanations here.
Yes.
Some highlights. You should have a copy of the breakdown of the overages on the budget. It's pretty obvious that you can see employee resources, which is the health insurance, is over by 1.4 million. A number that is, was never ever anticipated, but we've been talking about this healthcare issue for the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to have this discussion going forward. The other big item is the Board of Education budget is overexpended by 2.7 million. And of that 2.7, I want to say 2.4 of that is healthcare, and the other 300,000 is special education. And so you can see that the lion's share of this of the 4.5 million is in healthcare overages and special ed. So again, we've been talking about this through the budget process last year, and really didn't come as any surprise. I thought the Board of Education would do a little bit better, but it's taken a long time to get to the bottom of things over there. I think the saving grace for the Board of Education is they did make some personnel changes through the BOE that are going to improve things, and certainly from a timeliness standpoint and a dollars and cents accuracy standpoint. You'll see that where it says bus 4020 account is overdrawn by 237,000. That is the maintenance on the school bus parts. That's what we didn't anticipate, but the fleet is getting a little bit older, and you know, again, it's cheaper to put money into the equation and keep these buses around a little bit longer, and as opposed to buying brand new buses, which we're going to be doing in the next couple of years anyways. And I hope that sometime in the coming months, we'll have a proposal for the board in terms of a grant opportunity that will be a city share for some new buses that are being, we're going to have to procure. And then the rest of it is, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, the 32,000 over the elections.
That was anticipated.
Yeah, and so none of this stuff comes as any surprise. You should know that on the city side, there's probably some $4.5 million of unspent money that will reimburse the general fund, and that will net itself out. And this is the simplest and easiest way for people to understand where we did, look at, the big fly in the ointment here with our budget is health insurance. And, you heard me say before, in my 32 years, we've never experienced anything like this before. So, I wish I had a better answer for you, but that is the answer. And hopefully that we're going to be making some changes that will help remedy this healthcare issue. Any questions?
I'm looking for an explanation of the miscellaneous line. Can you give us a breakdown of that? Not now, but can you get us a breakdown of where the miscellaneous $53,800 came from?
Yeah, we'll have the clerk forward you a copy. That's all done in finance. Any other questions? Hearing none,
What's happening specifically, what's happening with the health insurance and cooperation between the city and the Board of Ed? We would like to see that cooperation that was established last year continued, and that the city representatives and the Board of Ed are on a meeting basis, talking basis, one-on-one, and seeing what has to be done to address this situation, because it's really not turning around.
well, it's not turning around yet, but I will say that the city numbers are starting to make a comeback. We're starting to be a little more normalcy. I can't say that for the Board of Education. They have different circumstances than the city does. We're probably in a better position to be able to make changes that will remedy this going forward. But with the Board of Education, it's going to be a lot slower because of their contract obligations. And so, we did have a meeting yesterday with the Board of Ed personnel in my office to discuss possible changes and just getting a better understanding of what's driving these exorbitant costs. So, anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this takes us to item 8.3 is the funding for the War on Terror Monument.
Move to appropriate an amount of $26,790 for the War on Terror Monument to be installed at the Riverwalk, with funding to come from the American Rescue Funds. Let me say that to be installed at the Riverwalk. It's not the Riverwalk. It's at the Veterans Memorial Park is where it's going to be installed. We continue to have difficulty with getting people to change bad habits. And those bad habits are calling it the slab and calling it the Riverwalk and calling it everything but what it deserves to be called, and that's the Veterans Memorial Park. So anything you can do, anytime you can do it, mention this so we get across to people, it's the Veterans Memorial Park.
Okay,
So,
anybody-
I also want to explain the pictures, and I'll give my copy to Mr. Bloom. Pictures of the monument here that we have. The Veterans Memorial Committee has approved all this. It's the sole source provider is Ravelli Monuments, and the monument. This 26,000 represents 2 of the 3 payments. The final payments, there's 13,394. It will be paid after it's set at the Memorial Park. After it's set, we'll have to pay 13,000 more, and then it's final. So the total cost of the monument was 40,000. Give that to the clerk.
Yeah, he can get it later. Okay, any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.4 is the City of Shelton UI easements.
I move to approve a grant of easements between the City of Shelton and United Illuminating relative to the properties listed below, subject to a favorable 824 referral by planning and zoning. And the properties are one DA 6,000. And the UI is offering $14,390 for that. The second one is DA 6001. They're offering $65,573. And item 3 is DA 6014. They're offering $8,925 for that one. And the fourth item is DA 6044, and they're offering $34,327. And item 5 is DA 6048, and they're offering $55,386. Item 6 is DA 6054, and they're offering $60,816. Further, authorize Mayor Marco the right to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate said easements. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded, for discussion purposes. This whole easement issue was discussed at the board, I want to say, maybe a year ago or a little bit longer, when UI had replaced the 100-year-old stanchions that carry the power lines that go through Shelton and eventually across the Housatonic River and into Derby and Oxford and beyond. And so we allowed them to access across city properties. And, you know, they met with me, I want to say 6-8 months ago, to discuss a more permanent easement. And I didn't see any reason not to do it. I just think that it made sense that, you know, we all rely on having power. And, you know, you've got to allow the utility to be able to access the power. And I think that we've had to establish a pretty good relationship with our trails interaction and the utility. So,
May I? This is obviously, this is a necessary public service that must be met. They got to get in, they got to do things. But I reached out and asked the Trails Committee, and of course, this board gave the Trails Committee status, upgraded their status so that they would be an effective body to discuss things with UI, and they have been doing a great job of it. So Bill Dyer came in, picked up the data and reviewed it. And I imagine with some other people from Conservation and Trails. And he come back this morning and gave me a statement that I'd like to read into the record. John, each of these parcels is owned by the city of Shelton with the land use listed as residential vacant land, which we refer to as open space. I'm told that that's not accurate in that it isn't really open space. It has to be designated open space before it's open space. Just vacant land doesn't make it open space. The only parcel, DA 6000, impacts the Shelton Trail network, but in a minor way with no impact on hikers. For about 70 feet off North Constitution, the Pagasa Trail uses the Hall Road that UI will need to access their tower. The trail then heads into the woods. The area is very open and will do with excellent sight lines, posing no problems for hikers. As custodians of the open space, the Conservation Trails Committee and the Natural Resource Officer will need to monitor the impacts and verify the land restoration after the project is completed. So they're going to continue to do their due diligence. So I take from that there are no serious reservations about this action from the Trails and Conservation. I would also like to tell you that Conservation would like us to consider that the proceeds from this, consider that they be put into the open space trust account. I don't know if you want to do that or not, but I certainly wanted to mention it so that you know their feeling. And as it was pointed out to me, that's a decision that's up to the board of Aldermen. So there's nothing wrong from a conservation point of view that I can see that was I was made aware of, so it's good news.
Okay, any other comments?
I just wondered, Mayor, did the UI tell us what their future proposed use would be? Because I know they're willing to pay what, 200, was it?
It's just access.
Just access, not doing anything. No
Well, they need
upgrade.
access at,
Okay.
at certain points.
If they do something that improves the use and results in higher return to us, value to us, then we should monitor that and
Go ahead, Anthony.
There was an issue at one point where they're actually blocking the vision of a house. And the house with these new poles, in fact, they were gonna put in 2, they put in 3, and the person for real estate reference, or the house is now worth about 35,000 less. And when they were doing this, and Jason and I and several other people were trying to see if they could move the poles one way or the other, they said they would, then they just didn't do it. But they told me that the power from that these lines carry doesn't help Connecticut or Shelton in any way, shape, or form. It's going to New York, just so you know. Okay, but they're, much bigger poles, much higher. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.5 is the agreement with EBM IT Solutions for technology services at the police department.
I move to approve the proposal and master services agreement between the city of Shelton, EBM IT Solutions provider for software technology services at the police department. Further authorize Mayor Mark Interretti to execute and all documents necessary to effectuate said agreement, subject to final review and approval of the Mayor and Corporation Council. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
There were, the reason that it says at the end of the motion, subject to final review, approval of the Mayor and Corporation Council, that the original proposal contains the agreement. The agreement was extracted and made part of your packet so that you could see it and read it. But there are things in here that I think that we just have to, if the Mayor and Corporation Council go through this carefully and feel that any further change is necessary, we want to authorize that as part of this motion without them having to come back to us.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this replacing another system, or is this a whole new complete system?
It's not a system, it's a service
Service.
to maintain the existing system. It was done by an employee who worked for us, who no longer works for us.
All right, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9 is legislative new. Item 9.1A is the continuation of the presentation and selection of the official flag of the city of Shelton.
It's my understanding that we have to reconvene the public hearing, and that's going to be done on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. And at that public hearing on the 23rd of January, there will be proposals of what they've had. We did show this the last time. The proposals of what they came up with were all displayed. So you can see them there, and you can come in and make final comments, and then the Board of Aldermen subcommittee will come up with a recommendation for the board. Is that your understanding?
Right.
Okay, moving along, item 9.2 is the acceptance of the planning and zoning report on the training compliance. There's really no action for the board to take here, it's just a notification.
Do you want us to accept it?
You don't have,
Just for the record?
you got it. He forwarded to you
Yep.
on his stationery. And then now there are no items for executive session, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.